Hey there, it's Tom Cherryholmes with IRATA.ONLINE, and it's time for another PLATOTerm64 status report. Okay, so since we last left off, we basically have added in a preferences menu, so now you can take and save settings. Set things such as your serial driver or whether or not you want to use Ethernet. If you're using Ethernet, also the ability to set up your IP address and other network parameters. You also get the opportunity to be able to set your particular touch device that you want to use. For now, we support 1351 mice, joystick-based devices, paddle-based devices such as the Koala Pad and the Inkwell Light Pen. We've also taken and added in another little surprise here, which you'll see in just a moment. But you'll see right here that with this particular functionality, the only thing left to do now is basically to add in the character set loading and streaming so that we can show custom character sets on Plato systems. So, with that, we'll go ahead and go in. We have right here our standard Commodore 64 setup, and we will go ahead and launch the disk. One thing that you'll notice immediately right off the bat is that it now takes a bit longer to load up. That's because at this point it is now loading the preference file off of the disk drive, or if it does not exist, it creates the preferences file, which holds all the settings for the program. But what's this? Ooh! This is very different, a little surprise that we have here. We have a little splash screen that I took and drew in the Plato screen designer and brought over into PLATOTerm to use as a splash screen. I'll be refining this over the next couple of weeks, but wanted to kind of go ahead and test this and show it off here. So you already get to see right off the bat the capabilities of the terminal before you even connect to IRATA or Cyber 1. Fantastic. So, with that, it takes and displays the message, and it drops you off into the terminal. Now, by default, it sets some default communications parameters. By default, a user port 2400 BPS modem is assumed. So if you have a Wi-Fi modem connected via the user port, this will work right out of the box. If it doesn't, you will have to use the preferences menu to get in there. If you press F3, you will see the preferences menu. It shows up down here at the bottom, and we have a few options here. We have interface to select the particular driver that we want to use. You'll notice as we select items, it will take and give you confirmation that these items have been selected. You have the option to either select Ethernet or serial. We're using a serial interface, so we'll select serial. You also get the opportunity to select a driver. Right now there are two drivers that I have available. If you have a SwiftLink 232 cartridge, you can use that. Otherwise, you use the UserPort 2400 driver here. I'm using a SwiftLink 232, so I'll select SwiftLink. And we have the opportunity to set the baud rate. We have the most commonly used baud rates available to set here. If you guys need other baud rates, please let me know and I will put them here in the menu. Since I'm using a SwiftLink, I can turn this all the way up. And we have the ability to set the touch drivers. We have here, like I mentioned before, 1351 Inkwell Joy Koala Pads devices. I'm using a 1351 mouse, so I will set that. And finally, we have the ability to save our preferences. Now, I will go ahead and show you that if you set the interface to Ethernet, your menu changes ever so slightly, and when you go back into preferences, since you have Ethernet selected, this is the menu that you will see. You of course will have the opportunity to change the interface, to turn DHCP on and off, to set your IP address, netmask, gateway, etc. So setting DHCP, sure, why not? But you can also set an IP address, and yes, you can set these things and have them in your preferences. So if you turn off DHCP, your static preferences will be used. You have the ability to backspace as well to correct, no problem. It gives you an acknowledgement that you're okay. Set up your net mask. Gateway. DNS. And so on. So there, like you see, you have the opportunity to be able to set these settings. Now, IP65 implementation isn't fully in there just yet. I'm still working on it, so this isn't ready yet. But it will be by the time that the alpha releases, by the time I do the alpha release. So it's coming. We'll go ahead and set our interface back to serial. And I'll show one other little detail here before we bounce out here. If we go ahead and hit exit at this particular point, here we save our preferences. It will save the preferences to the disk and bounce you back to the preferences menu once it's done. And once we hit exit, if you've changed any of your preferences, it will unload the old drivers and load the new ones in, and give you indication that it is doing so. So now that's ready and we're back in the terminal here. And as we can see, bam, there we are. It works. Great. Another thing that we can absolutely do, we can use the F1 and F2 keys and Commodore F1 keys here to set our colors. F1 changes the background color. We'll go ahead and we can flip through any of the 16 available Commodore colors in the palette. Let's select black. If we hit Commodore F1, this changes the border. Shut that. F2 changes the text color. We'll go ahead and select our orange here to get a nice Plato look. And once we're done, we can of course go into preferences and save this. And yes, there's still a bug occasionally. Sometimes stray keys will get caught. If that happens, no big deal, just back out. Save our preferences. So now that this has been saved, we can exit out. Sure. Since we've just set colors, we don't have to reload anything, so it will just pull you back to where you were. So if you just want to set colors real quickly, you can set the colors, you can save the colors, and go back to what you were doing. So with that, we'll go ahead and bounce out for just a moment. I will reset the computer, and we're going to have a little look inside the distribution disk. For the alpha test here, I'm providing a preliminary distribution disk with the following contents. PLATOTerm, of course, is the program itself. I have a copy of the GPL version 3.0 here on the disk so that you can read through it and comply with the license. I also have each one of these are the requisite drivers for the mouse and for the serial port. We can probably have more to come, and we see a file down here called config, which contains all of the preferences information. So everything you need already on the disk, ready to go. We'll go ahead and launch this up. And since if I do auto start, it loads faster, we won't have to wait for the disk to do it. I'll go ahead and just auto start again. And we'll start to see here within a few moments, loads our preferences in, loads our drivers, and once that's up and running, we have our terminal ready to go. We can then, of course, log on to the service. And as we can see, there she is, ready to go. Oops. Well, now you guys know that one. It's a test user anyway. Change that. And there we go. Awesome, isn't it? So, with that, do one last little thing here. Go to an example lesson here. Rows. And let's look at some output real quick. Great roses. Let's look at pattern number 22. So definitely some more to come. Like I said before, the one thing that's absolutely still needs to be done is character set loading, and that will be the last major thing that I work on before I do the official alpha release. So with that, hope you guys had fun, and if you guys want to test the software, please hit me up in Facebook or on email or on Google+. I take and advertise everywhere. There is also a Facebook group called, Facebook company called IRATA.ONLINE that you can contact to get promotional information, such as the demo meets that happen every week. Every week from 10 to 12 p.m. From 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Saturday and Sunday for the foreseeable future. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Talk to y'all later.